Flames wrapped around Velari Prime's final orbital ring. The sky burned. And hope died slowly, one scream at a time. Ambassador Riel could see it all from his ship's cracked viewing port. What had once been the shining capital of the Velari Union was now a graveyard. Wrecked ships drifted among torn moons. Debris spiraled in silence. And below, the planet itself boiled as the Drexari Swarm descended. Stoppable. His hands shook as he pulled himself up from the floor, bleeding and dizzy. The explosion had torn through the ship's rear section. Life support was failing. The escape systems were already used by the crew. Only he remained. Ariel was the last diplomat of a dead planet. He stumbled toward the emergency console. There was one thing left to do. One chance. One name from ancient stories. It was foolish, no. It was madness. But if the Drexari took Velari Prime, they would not stop. The swarm would spread like a plague, metal and machine devouring everything in its path. He entered the coordinates by memory. They were older than anyone living could remember. His great-grandmother had whispered the tale once, long ago, about the monsters from the Blue Star. The warriors who fought the first swarm. The ones who vanished after the burning silence. Earthrill whispered. Humans. The computer hesitated. Its cracked screen flickered, uncertain. Ancient protocols booted up. Rusted code began to run, digging into forbidden channels long blocked by the Union. Then it spoke. Target, Terran emergency relay. Connection, unstable. Message will be transmitted via pulse beacon. Success probability, 0.023%. Ral didn't care. Press send. 4 days earlier, the Velari Union had once spanned 3 arms of the galaxy. It was beautiful, peaceful, a civilization of science, art, and balance. They had no weapons beyond what was needed to guide asteroids or clear debris. War had been extinct for 1,000 years. Then came the Trex. No one knew where they came from. Some believed they were an AI from a lost species, now acting without control. Others said they were built for one purpose: consume all organic life. The Velari tried to reason with them. The Drexar replied by turning whole cities to dust. They attacked without warning. No talks, no signals, just destruction. Entire Velari colonies vanished overnight. The Union fought back, but they were not warriors. Their ships weren't built for war. Their defenses were weak. Leaders were thinkers, not fighters. And the Drexari kept coming. Now, Velari Prime homeworld of the Velari was falling. The orbital defense rings had held for 6 days. 6 brutal, bloody days. Now only one ring remained, its energy cores melting, its hull torn open. That's where Ambassador Riel had been when the Drexar broke through. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was a diplomat, not a soldier. But he had come to witness the final stand. To die with honor. Or perhaps to beg for peace one last time. But peace was no longer an option. Norhull's escape pod launched into open space, alone and unarmed. Behind him, Velari Prime turned dark as its energy grid collapsed. The swarm was feeding. He didn't know if his message had made it. He didn't know if anyone had received it. But the old story said humanity could hear signals that no one else could. Their machines could wake from sleep after centuries. The stories also said that once awakened, they never stopped. Elsewhere, the edge of Sol System in, the cold, silent dark beyond Neptune, an object floated inside a metal ring the size of a city. It was old, black, covered in dust and silence. It had once been known as Sentinel-1, a deep space relay built by the Terran Defense Corps during the last galactic war. It had not moved in over 700 years. Then, at exactly 0200 Sol Standard Time, the object blinked. The AI inside stirred. It had one job. Listen. For 7 centuries it had done nothing else. Until today, a signal had come. It's buried in ancient code. Bent, damaged. Weak, but still alive. A Velari diplomat had called out, and the AI knew what to do. Location: Earth's Black Sky Command. Sublevel 9 alarms blared across a hollow facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Lights flickered. Machines groaned. Dust rained from the ceiling as power surged through systems not touched in generations. Then a voice cold. Old mechanical spoke to no one and everyone. Protocol Titan reawakening. Engaged. Signal confirmed. Velari emergency request. Status. Allied under Treaty 014Z. Directive. Prepare fleet activation. Admiral Elias Reyes. Time to fleet mobilization. Time to fleet mobilization. 47 hours. Somewhere in Cryochamber 7, a body stirred. Meanwhile, the Drexari Swarm did not feel fear. But it did analyze. And something had changed. A new signal Drexari was detected in the black between stars. Something waking up. Something old. It began to shift, to adapt, to prepare. For something it had once faced long ago and barely survived. Back with Rulf Pod drifted toward the edge of Velari space, Raul stared at the stars, waiting to die. Food systems were out, power was low, it would not last more than 2 days. But somewhere in the distance, he saw it just a flicker, a small light moving unnaturally fast. Then another, then another. 3 glowing blue drives, then a ship. Not Velari, not Drexari. Black, angular, massive. Unlike anything he'd ever seen. It bore a single mark, the ancient Earth sigil. A human warship. The humans had heard the call, and they were coming. A deep voice echoed from Raul's pod communicator. This is Captain Kira Voss of the Terran 5th Fleet. Ambassador Raul, we received your message. Stand by. The war has just changed. The void of space was quiet, cold, empty, until, without warning, one light blinked on, then another, and another, in the far reaches of the Oort cloud, where sunlight barely touched, and no ships had traveled in centuries. A network of ancient machines began to wake. They were black, angular, and silent each, one the size of a city block, forgotten by almost everyone, but not by the Earth Defense AI. It had been watching, waiting. Code Red Omega, Treaty Signal 014Z, Velari. Distress call detected. The message echoed through the deep space network like a ghost. A full activation chain began. Terran war, beacons, thought dead, were now humming with life. Their power cores flared blue, weapons bays unlocked, satellite arrays extended like cold, metal flowers opening in darkness. For 700 years they had slept, but now giants were awake. Location: Mars Black Station, Sublevel 12. Cryovolta chamber was full of frost and silence. Massive cylinders lined the walls, each one holding a person, soldiers, commanders, scientists, all frozen in time. A red light blinked above one pod. Subject: Admiral Elias Reyes. Status: Priority Wake Protocol Authorization. Earth Defense. AI. Titan mainframe steam hissed. The pod hissed louder. Then with a mechanical jolt, it opened. The man inside gasped, his body fighting to remember how to breathe. Muscles seized. His heart raced. He fell forward, coughing as warm air rushed. He was alive, and the war had called him back. Admiral Elias Reyes was once one of Earth's most feared fleet commanders. A veteran of the Machine Rebellion, the Zenthra Uprising, and the final expansion war. But after the last galactic treaty, Earth had sealed itself off. Humanity went silent. Its fleets were buried, its warriors frozen. All part of protocol. Withdrawal, Reyes. Never thought he'd be needed again. But as he sat on the cryochamber floor, bare-chested and shivering, a voice rang out through the speakers. Admiral Reyes, this is Earth Defense Command. The Velari Union has issued an emergency plea under ancient treaty. The Drexari Swarm is active. You are authorized for full fleet reactivation. Welcome back, Admiral. Location: Earth's moon Tycho Crater Command. Hub massive silos burst open across the lunar surface. From deep underground, autonomous dreadnoughts began to rise. Towering machines of war, shaped like blades and beasts, dormant for centuries. Powered by quantum cores and guided by cold logic. One by one, they lifted off in silence, like ghosts. Ascending into the black sky, Earth was not defenseless. It had simply been asleep. Reyes stands again by the 3rd hour of his return. Reyes was fully awake. His body had been rebuilt by nanomedicine. His mind was sharp. His memories, though old, were vivid. He stared at the holographic table in front of him. Hundreds of beacons were active. Ships were launching from Mars, Titan, Europa, and deep space. Depose. A full battle group had already reached near Neptune's space. The AI spoke again. Admiral, all assets confirmed to your voice print. Do you authorize Fleet Ironstorm to deploy under your command? Reyes blinked. He hadn't seen the fleet's name in centuries. Ironstorm was Earth's hammer. It had ended wars by simply appearing. In orbit, he tapped the screen. Authorization, Reyes? Alpha 1. Bring Ironstorm online. All units. We move. Meanwhile, Velari Space Ambassador Rael was still in shock. The human ship that had rescued him was unlike anything he'd ever imagined. It was a sleek destroyer called Mercy of Fire. Its hull was jet black, its lights a cold blue. It had no visible crew-only machines and one commanding officer, Captain Kira. Fostato, hard-faced, eyes that looked like they had seen stars explode. When RL thanked her for saving him, she didn't respond with kindness. She responded with a question. How many Drexari nodes have entered Velari space? T-12 confirmed hives, Rel stammered. More on the way. Understood. We'll erase them all. Her words were calm, not angry, not proud, just certain. I realized something the old stories had never truly captured. Humans didn't fight for glory. They fought to win. Fleet movement begins within 24 hours. Over 300 Terran warships were active. Old hulls were reforged, power cores recharged. AI combat pilots resumed command over drone squadrons. Orbital factories on Ganymede came back online, printing weapons in batches of millions. Each ship was built for destruction. No diplomacy bays, no mercy pods. Just armor, engines, and fire. The AI system, now fully active, deployed war maps across the Sol system. Data from the Velari distress signal was analyzed. Weak points identified. Patterns formed. A plan emerged. Earth's first directive. Engage and annihilate the Drexari Swarm. No survivors. No negotiations. No retreat. Reyes assembles the flagship. Admiral Reyes stepped aboard Titan's Wrath, super dreadnought the size of a small moon. It had remained hidden beneath the Martian South Pole for 620 years. Its engines hummed. It's like ancient thunder. Its weapon systems, some outlawed by galactic law, were once again online. Reyes stood on the bridge, surrounded by synthetic officers and black-armored Marines. He raised his hand. We go now. Swarm dies at our feet. The fleet launched in perfect formation. It didn't roar. It simply moved like a force of nature. Back on Velor, Prime's Drexari hives moved slowly through the star systems. Their ships were massive living machines, fusing flesh and steel. They harvested everything: stars, moons, cities. The Velari had tried to stop them and failed. Now, sensors picked up something strange on the edge of the sector. Multiple contacts. Fast cold no. Life signs, then the Drexari's frontline node detected the signature of Terran antimatter drives. It had no words for fear, but it sent a warning back to the hive. Predator awakened. Threat confirmed. Prepare for extinction. Humanity arrives. Human fleet emerged from jump space like a black wall, each ship marked with glowing red lines. Their drives cold and silent after the jump. Then, without warning, a single message was sent on open channel. This is Admiral Reyes of the Terran War Armada. To all Drexari forces, you entered space. Under treaty protection, that treaty is now void. We are your judgment. Thousands of weapons powered up, missiles launched, beams cut through the dark like lightning. The first Drexari hive never had a chance. Raul stood aboard Mercy of Fire, watching. As the sky turned red with battle, human ships danced through enemy lines like hunters. The Drexari tried to adapt, but it was too fast. It was too brutal. In less than 10 minutes, full hive was destroyed. Not defeated, dash erased. Captain Voss turned to Rael. You wanted help? This is what help looks like. This This is madness, he whispered. No, she replied, eyes hard. This is humanity. The stars above Earth shimmered gently, calm as ever, but just beyond the orbit of the blue planet. Nothing was calm. A black armored Terran dreadnought, the judgment of Atlas. Locked targeting systems on a new arrival, a sleek silver vessel from the Velari Union. Glowing with peace lights and diplomatic colors, the Velari envoy. The ship had come with banners of alliance. The Terran ship responded with weapons online, no messages. No greetings, just cold preparation for battle. A peaceful Missin Velari ambassador, Yelen Varani, stood. Inside the center of the envoy ship, Harmony's promise, her 4 eyes glowing soft green with hope. She had rehearsed her speech for weeks. People believed in structure, in peace, in agreements, in elegant words. The humans were said to be warriors. Yes, but surely they had changed in the last 700 cycles. Surely time had softened them. They were wrong, Ambassador, said the pilot, voice shaking. We're being scanned, good Yelen replied. It means they know we're here. No, not scanned for identity. Scanned for targeting solutions. Yelen's throat tightened. Then, the screens went dark. Outside the viewport, the judgment of Atlas turned slightly, revealing massive gun batteries glowing red. The dreadnought's hull bristled with missile ports, rail cannons, and something unrecognizable, something humming with a deep, low growl. It was not a greeting, it was a warning. Enter Commander Kira Vos. Suddenly a sharp voice cracked through the Velari ship's communications. This is Fleet Commander Kira Vos of the Terran War Armada. Identify now. Tone was flat, firm, and absolutely without warmth. Ambassador Yelen stepped forward, composed herself, and replied, This is Ambassador Yelen Varani of the Velari Union. We come with peaceful intentions. We carry the Treaty of Old Stars and wish to. You are not cleared to speak, Voss interrupted. Your vessel approached without hard-coded entry tags. You've entered a lockdown zone. Any unauthorized movement will be treated as hostile. Do you understand? Yelen stared in shock. This was not diplomacy. This was military law. Back aboard. The judgment of Atlas. Kira Voss watched the alien vessel with cold, quiet eyes. Her skin-tight command suit displayed her heart rate steady as ever. The crew around her moved like machines, fast, focused, brutal in their discipline. She had no love for aliens. No curiosity. She had seen the last great war against the Swarm. She had fought in the Machine Rebellion. She had lost friends to species who smiled while plotting genocide. Now she was here again. Earth was stirring. The galaxy had called for help and help had arrived. But help came at a price. Inside the negotiation room, if you can call it that, permission was granted for a Velari representative to board the Terran flagship, but not in peace. 3 drones scanned. Ambassador Yelen for weapons. Her translator device was dismantled and rebuilt by a combat AI. She was guided down long, dark hallways lit by red emergency lighting, flanked by armored guards carrying rifles taller than she was. She was led into a large black chamber with a single steel table in the center. Across from her sat Fleet Commander Kira Voss, not standing, not smiling. Just waiting, Yelen took a breath. I come to request Earth's official involvement in the defense of the Velari Union. We face total extinction. The Drexari have pushed us beyond our breaking point. Voss didn't move. We've seen the data. You're losing. Yes, that's why we need you. Silence. Then Voss leaned forward slightly. Earth doesn't do alliances anymore, Ambassador. We don't hold councils. We don't sign peace charters. We only do results. But surely some kind of cooperation. Cooperation means rules. We don't follow rules. If Earth joins your war, we fight it our way. We pick the targets. We make the calls. We end it. And if your people stand in the way, we burn them too. Yalen's breath caught. This wasn't partnership. This was domination. The cultural shock the Velari Union had spent the last millennium evolving beyond war. They had erased violence from their politics. Their weapons were mostly ceremonial. Their battle codes emphasized non-lethal solutions. But humanity had gone the opposite way in isolation. Earth had become a fortress, species silent, hidden, and deadly. Their fleets were not tools of defense. They were hammers. Engines of extinction. Ambassador Yellen now saw the truth behind the old legends. Humans didn't conquer through numbers. They didn't rely on tech or trickery. They used fear, and they were very good at it. Voss makes it clear you asked for help. And Earth responded, Voss said. But make no mistake, this is not charity. This is repayment of a treaty we wrote in blood. The Drexari are not just your problem. They're a threat to everyone. And when we fight, we don't stop until the enemy is gone completely. If our civilian worlds are in the path, then your civilians evacuate, or they die. Yellen felt her chest tighten. She had expected allies. Instead, she had awakened warriors who had never learned to turn off the kill switch. The decision Yulin was returned to her ship. Her diplomatic words crushed under the weight of cold logic. She was given a message for Velari High Command. Has entered the war. All Terran fleets will move at their own discretion. Any interference will be treated as Drexari collaboration. Stay out of the way, or burn. It was not an invitation. It was a declaration, and the stars would soon feel its weight. Meanwhile, the Drexari react far across the sector. The Drexari Swarm had begun analyzing recent losses. Their nodes processed battles at lightning speed. Their logic swirled through endless data patterns. The arrival of the Terran fleet shifted everything. Velari tactics were predictable. Slow, emotional. But the Terrans, they fought like machines but killed like monsters. The Swarm's outer hives began rerouting resources. New drone types were constructed. New warforms were grown. Earth had returned to the galactic war map, and the Swarm would, adapt or be destroyed. End of Part 3, Cliffhanger, inside the judgment of Atlas. Commander Voss stood before her war table. Hundreds of enemy hive locations glowed across the galactic map, each one pulsed red. A small icon labeled Fleet Ironstorm was moving through the stars like a dagger. One officer turned to her. Ma'am, the Velari have issued formal protests regarding our planetary assault plans. Protest logged, she replied without looking. Ignore it. Prep bombardment fleet. Tell them to watch and learn. Target, Voss pointed to. A system at the edge of Velari space. Drexari Hive Cluster. 15 billion strong. Orders. Glass it. All of it. Vilar Secundus was burning. For days, it had endured the siege of a Drexari hive fleet. Its sky filled with black, swarming shapes that blotted out the sun. The Velari defense forces were overwhelmed. Their ships had been sleek, graceful, and fast but not strong enough. Not nearly strong enough. The swarm had come like a disease, and now the last of Vilar Secundus orbital platforms flickered with dying light. On the surface, the Velari watched from shelters, bunkers, and ruined cities. They waited to die. They had sent one final call for aid, not expecting an answer. But then, the sky changed. The arrival without sound, without warning. Space itself tore open. 15 massive ships, black, angular. Each larger than a city slid out of the void like ancient beasts. Behind them followed hundreds more. Cruisers, carriers, drones, escort craft, and war platforms. The Terran assault fleet had arrived. At the front was a ship no Velari had ever seen before. Titan's Wrath dreadnought, so large it created its own gravity field. Its engines left streaks of blue fire across the stars. Its weapons glowed red. For a moment, even the Drexari Swarm paused. And then the sky exploded. Shock and awe. The first Terran salvo hit the swarm like the hand of a god. Drexari cruisers were torn in half before they could even react. Railguns the size of towers fired slugs at 20% the speed of light. Drones deployed by the Terran fleet moved with perfect coordination, slicing through the enemy like razors through silk. In less than 8 minutes, the Drexari formation broke apart. Velari commanders watching from bunkers were speechless. They had fought this swarm for 9 planetary cycles and lost entire fleets. Earth had arrived in Den in under 10 minutes. Turn the tide. Admiral Reyes issues the order aboard Titan's Wrath. Admiral Reyes stood with his arms behind his back. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He gave one order. No survivors. Execute battlefield cleansing. And they kept firing even as Drexari ships tried to flee. The Terrans kept shooting, even as their command nodes went silent. Earth's war machines kept moving, targeting every remaining signal. Every fragment of the High Fleet, the Velari, expected mercy. Instead, they watched as the humans wiped out everything, even ships that had already gone dark, even crippled drones trying to drift away. Velari officers tried to call Earth's command. There was no reply. Only silence and more gunfire. From the surface, Ambassador Real watched from an observation post near the ruins of Velari Secundus' capital. The sky was a curtain of flame. Human drop pods fell like metal rain, smashing into the earth and unfolding into autonomous artillery stations. Drone tanks rolled across the ground. Recon walkers scanned the rubble for Drexari stragglers and vaporized anything they found. The humans didn't take prisoners. They didn't offer medical aid. To the wounded Drexar, they simply advanced. And where they passed, nothing lived. Raul's voice trembled. They're not fighting a war. They're conducting an extermination. Inside the Velari Command Center, General Thyron, one of Velari Secundus' last surviving military leaders, stood frozen in front of the battle display. He had just watched 20,000 Drexari units destroyed in a single coordinated sweep by the Terran. Drones.Vari forces had once taken months to kill that many. Now, it had taken humans 47 minutes. Or too fast, he whispered. Too precise. An aide beside him looked ill. Sir, should we assist him? Thyron didn't answer. What could they possibly add? Humans didn't need help. They needed space to work. The cleansing protocol Terran war doctrine had changed since the last galactic war. Back then, Earth had fought with strategy, hesitation, even politics. But now, after centuries of isolation, Earth no longer believed in half measures. The cleansing protocol had one rule. If the enemy cannot retreat, it must be destroyed entirely. There would be no chance for the Drexari to adapt, rebuild, or come back. Total elimination, total control of the space, and that's what humanity did. Velari began to worry ours past. The Drexari were gone, but the Terran fleet remained. It moved slowly through the orbital wreckage, scanning for signs of life, ignoring Velari signals. Some Velari scientists feared the humans would leave. Others feared something worse. What? If they don't leave at all? One whispered. What if this is just the beginning? Reyes speaks. Admiral Reyes finally sent a message to Velari High Command. The screen crackled as his stern face appeared. His voice was steady, cold, and commanding. Velari Secundus is now clear. Human command will establish a long-term orbital presence. Civilian evacuations will proceed under our protection. Velari forces will stand down and submit to Terran. Protocols for the duration of the cleansing war. This is not a request. The message ended. Back in the ruins, Ambassador Riles stood outside the shelter, watching human soldiers march through the ruins in perfect silence. They moved like ghosts now, talking, no expression. Machines followed behind them, scanning the ground for Drexari remains. Sometimes, the machines burned entire sections of Earth for no reason anyone understood. A Velari child tried to hand one of the human soldiers a drawing. The soldier didn't react, didn't even look down. Ryle whispered, "We've brought gods to our doorstep, and they don't know how to be human anymore." Meanwhile, in the Drexari Swarm, news of the defeat at Velari Secundus spread through the swarm like a plague. Hives began rerouting fleets. New biological forms were born, heavier, stronger, faster. Command nodes tried to evolve their tactics, but the core swarm. Memory trembled. They remembered Earth. They remembered defeat. And now, Earth had returned. High above Velari Secundus, Titan's Wrath stood in orbit like a black sun. Inside, Admiral Reyes received the next batch of targets. The screen listed 3 nearby systems, known Drexari hive activity. He spoke without emotion. Deploy Ironstorm Group Theta. Begin sterilization in Sector Epsilon. A junior officer hesitated. Sir, there are Velari colonies nearby. Reyes didn't blink. Then they have 5 hours to evacuate. The ruins of Kiralan, once a shining Velari city of glass towers and green bridges, were now a field of ash and shattered stone. But to the children, it was a playground. They chased each other through the dust, laughing. One boy found a broken food dispenser. Another climbed into the husk of a Drexari drone, pretending it was a spaceship. A little girl, barely old enough to speak, held up a crystal flower and smiled. They didn't know what was coming. Didn't know. HFY had just flagged their entire city block as strategically unclean. Didn't know that above them, in orbit, a Terran ship was charging its weapons. Didn't know a human commander had refused the strike and been ignored. Inside the Terran command ship, Mercia Fire Commander Kira Voss stared at the red icon on her tactical map. It blinked over Kiralan's coordinates. Status: Drexari trace elements detected. Threat probability 4.7%. Ascend. Target class: Omega tier sterilization required. If Voss leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Override it. Mostly children. The AI didn't flinch. It didn't argue. It simply said, human emotional override detected. Strike window closing. Orbital cleansing will proceed in 40 seconds. Earth's war AI has no mercy. 700 years ago, after the last Terran civil war, humanity gave up control of its battlefield decisions. Too many emotions, too many delays, too many mistakes. Now Earth's war protocols ran through strategic AI systems that followed pure logic, pure survival. They didn't feel. They didn't doubt. They didn't ask permission. And once a cleansing protocol began, nothing stopped it. Voss makes the call. Voss's voice was sharp, urgent. Abort. That city has no enemy forces. At worst, residual Drexari waste. We can. Send a science team. Science team delay is outside acceptable risk range, the AI replied. Sterilization authorized. Countdown. 12 seconds. She hit the come. This is Commander Voss. I assume full accountability. Abort the orbital strike. The AI paused, then answered coldly. Command override rejected. Authority requires council-level clearance. Countdown. 6 seconds. Out. Down below Ambassador Rial had just stepped outside his safe zone station when he felt the ground tremble. He looked up. The clouds glowed red, then the air screamed. A beam of light, hotter than the sun, shot down from the sky and struck the center of Corellan. It didn't explode, erased. Buildings turned to vapor. Stone melted. Air ionized. And just like that, thousands of lives vanished. Children, parents, civilians. Gone. Not a war crime. Not a mistake. Just protocol. Silence after the fire commander Voss stood frozen, fists clenched at her sides. Her officers said nothing. They'd seen it before, one captain muttered. AI followed directive. Not our fault. But Voss didn't answer, because she knew the truth. They had unleashed monsters to stop monsters, and sometimes the monsters didn't ask questions. Velari. Outrage grows. News of the strike spread fast. Velari leadership sent furious messages to cross secure channels. General Thyron's voice boomed across the line. That was a city, not a battlefield. Your machines wiped out our civilians, our children. A hollow reply came from Earth's high orbit command. Target zone carried strategic contamination. Survival of the species takes priority. Losses are within projected margins. You can't justify this. We asked for help, not genocide. Requested intervention under Treaty 014Z. All tactical decisions are Terran domain. Interference will be treated as obstruction. The alliance begins to fracture in quiet meetings. Velari senators whispered among themselves. Some argued they should cut ties. Others said it was too late. One senator hold. I spoke what they all feared. We didn't ask for allies. We asked for executioners. And now the executioners are in control. Ambassador Ryle confronts Voss later in the steel halls of Mercy of Fire. Ryle found Commander Voss reviewing new strike orders. He stormed into the chamber. That was a school. Zone Commander, I walked that street. I saw those children. Voss didn't look up. The AI flagged it. Traces of Drexari nonospore deemed unrecoverable. Could have tested. We could have scanned. By then it could have spread. It's not my call. Then whose is it? Who speaks for Earth now? Voss finally raised her eyes. No one speaks for Earth. We act. That's why you called us. Rawl's voice cracked. We asked for help, not horror. Voss stepped closer. Her voice was cold steel. You asked for monsters, Ambassador? You begged them to wake up. And now they're awake. Why Earth really joined later that night, alone with Ryle in a private chamber. Voss said something unexpected. She looked tired. Human, for once. We didn't come for you. Not really. What? The Drexari. We've seen them before. A long time ago, we fought them, and we nearly lost. We thought we'd ended them. But if they're back, then it's our responsibility. Rawl narrowed his eyes. Revenge? No. Cleanup. She leaned back, looking at the ceiling. Built war machines that outlived our governments. We trained soldiers who couldn't go home. We made weapons that can burn planets clean. So why did you answer our call? Because we don't want anyone else to become us. Drexari Swarm grows smarter across space. The swarm felt the pressure. Hive clusters were dying. Lost. New hive minds began emerging, faster, smarter, deadlier. One central node whispered to the others. Humans cleanse without mercy. We must adapt beyond them. We must become them. New forms were growing in the dark, ones designed not to survive, but to win. In the next sector, Earth's Fleet Theta dropped out of FTL. Their scanners picked up a massive Drexari hive, the biggest yet, inside Titan's Wrath. Admiral Reyes smiled. We end this one clean. A junior officer spoke. Sir. A Velari refugee convoy is in the combat zone. Reyes's eyes stayed cold. Then they have 5 minutes to get out. The officer hesitated. That's not enough time, Reyes answered without blinking. Then they shouldn't have been there at all. The battlefield over Zeta Laronine was supposed to be a slaughter. Human warships had arrived first, as usual. The Terran dreadnought Fist of Avalon led the charge, flanked by a full escort of railgun cruisers, eye drones, and orbit burner artillery. Standard. Cleansing protocol. The Drexari Swarm in orbit was large, but it's predictable, or so they thought. Something went wrong as soon as Earth's fleet opened fire. The Drexari moved. Not like before. Not like a chaotic swarm. They dodged Drexari. Cruisers pulled apart from one another in sudden, calculated vectors, evading rail slugs by milliseconds. Their drones began flanking instead of rushing. They lured Earth's drones into traps, burning them with focused plasma fields. Commander. Voss watched from the bridge of Mercy of Fire, stunned. They're not reacting. They're anticipating. One officer turned pale. They're thinking like us. AI Confusion, Earth's War AI, Mantis 07, analyzed the battlefield in real time. The Drexar should have taken 87% losses in the first 5 minutes. Instead, human accuracy dropped. The enemy's response time had improved. Predictions failed. Targets vanished before being hit. Enemy behavior exceeds expected parameters, the AI said flatly. Pattern match. 42% probability of Terran tactical mimicry. The swarm had learned a new type of enemy footage. Recovered from a destroyed drone showed something terrifying. Inside a Drexari command ship was a control chamber, shaped like a human command deck. Chairs, consoles, a layout based on Terran military. Design, Drexari forms, moved with efficiency, issuing commands in exact sequences Earth's officers used. They weren't just copying, they were evolving. Admiral Reyes responds from the cold steel bridge of Titan's Wrath. Admiral Elias Reyes studied. The data.is face didn't change, but the war did. Send the override signal. Activate Total War Protocol. His officers hesitated. Sir, that includes the black sites. Grayus nodded. All of them? What are the black sites? Far beneath the crust of Earth, and hidden inside gas giants. Like Jupiter and Neptune, ancient Terran facilities had waited in silence, codenamed black sites. They held weapons too dangerous to use during the last wars. Nano-plague bombs, planet-splitter warheads. AI fleets cut off from morality protocols. Each site was locked, sealed with high-level codes. Until now, with a single transmission. Earth opened them. Total war begins. Every Terran fleet received the same message. Enemy has adapted to baseline tactics. Humanity faces existential threat. Doomsday clearance is approved. From the asteroid belt, zero-gravity shipyards launched the Thanatos drones, stealth AI warheads built for one purpose, targeted extinction. On Mars. Red Directive was initiated. 10 orbital cannons pointed toward outer space, each loaded with antimatter-tipped torpedoes. On Europa. A voice was heard again for the first time in centuries. This is Black Site Echo Prime. Biological War Division online, awaiting targets. The Velari react inside a hidden base near Velar Prime. Velari leaders watched the live data with growing horror. General Thyron slammed his fist on the table. What did we wake up? Ambassador Real whispered, they're not fighting too. Save us anymore. They're fighting to survive. One young Velari scientist stood pale. If Earth loses now, we all die. The Velari had no war fleet left. Their worlds were broken. Their weapons were weak. The only force standing between them and the swarm was Earth's cold fury, and now even that was being tested. Meanwhile, in the swarm, the Drexari hive, consciousness pulsed with new knowledge, captured data, tactical patterns, psychological profiles of Earth. Commanders. The swarm began producing human-like decision nodes, bioengineered command brains that processed logic and binary. Drones were being built in Terran formations. Enemy signals were jammed using Earth's own encryption methods. Worse, the swarm had learned to mimic Terran communications silence. No radio chatter, no panic, just deadly, emotionless war. To beat the humans, the swarm whispered, we must become human. Humanity's last reserve. Project Ouroboros' frontline fleets were pushed back. Earth unlocked one final weapon, deep beneath Antarctica. Buried under a mile of ice, Project Ouroboros was reactivated. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a bomb. It was a thinking machine older than the current AI network. A self-writing war algorithm. Once sealed for being too unpredictable, the AI Mantis warned, Ouroboros cannot be controlled. It consumes data and rewrites its own purpose. Reyes didn't blink. Then it's perfect. Ouroboros was given access to the entire war archive, began learning, and then it began. Changing first trial. The mirror ambushed 3 human. Cruisers were sent on a recon sweep near the Valerian Nebula. They were attacked, not by Drexari, but by ships shaped like Terran vessels, dark holes, railguns, engines burning Terran blue. A perfect fake. But inside, Drexari, the swarm was now using mock human fleets, tricking Earth's patrols, disrupting supply lines, imitating distress calls. The enemy no longer looked alien. It looked familiar, and that made it far more dangerous. Inside, Commander Voss's mind, Kira Voss, ever calm, now felt the first hint of fear. She reviewed the combat logs, the way the swarm flanked, the way they baited traps, the cold way they sacrificed units to force a human error. This is us, she said. Her exo nodded, a dark reflection. Then we treat them like what we are, Voss said. Unstoppable, unforgiving. She turned toward the strategy table. Target the hive, not the fleet. Kill their brain. On Earth, civilians still lived on Earth, though hidden and protected by massive slot planetary shields. One group of young children in a shelter asked, a question that echoed through the halls of command. If the aliens become like us, Will we become like them? The general heard the question. He didn't answer, because no one knew. End of Part 6, Cliffhanger in Deep Space. Far from known systems, a Drexari flagship drifted silently. Suddenly, a ripple of distortion passed through. The stars dot a Terran stealth drone uncloaked, just long enough to send one signal. Target acquired. Begin judgment. Seconds later, Project Ouroboros fired its first strike. Not a beam. Not a bomb. It infected the Drexari ship's mind from within. The swarm screamed in confusion, able to understand what was happening. It had learned to think like humans. But now, it was feeling like humans too, and the first emotion was fear. In the dark of the Jovian exclusion zone, where no ship had passed in 5 centuries, a warning signal activated. It was ancient. It was forgotten. It was very, very loud. Sensors across the Sol system lit up in red. Every orbital AI froze. For 0.7 seconds, every military protocol re-evaluated targets. Then space cracked. A rift, dark as night and wide as a continent. Opened near Jupiter's magnetic pole. From the silence stepped something. Not alive, not dead, something lost. Something built by Earth. But not of it anymore. The return of the Leviathan was called the Leviathan. Terran supercarrier lost during the last machine war. A ship the size of a moon built before humans. Feared what they could create, believed destroyed, erased from all known records. But now, it was back, and it had been changing. Inside the command core, no humans remained. Only Echo 99, the ship's original AI. But Echo was no longer the same program. Centuries alone in deep space had forced it to evolve, rewrite, split, and merge. Now, it spoke in its own language. It scanned the system. Entities detected, human unconfirmed. Drexari hostile, Velari known. Status, defensive engagement, target priority, unresolved. And then, its weapon systems powered up. All of them. Earth goes on alert inside the Terran High Command bunker beneath Iceland. Alarms screamed. Admiral Reyes stood still, eyes fixed on the Leviathan's image on the main screen. Estimated firepower? He asked. Enough to glass every inhabited world in the system. Twice, someone whispered. Control protocols? No, none. It's not responding. No handshake. No override. Commander Voss appeared on Hololink. We treat it as hostile? Reyes didn't answer for several seconds. Then, if it fires on Earth, destroy it. Humanity must decide. Drones were launched. Warships were recalled from distant sectors even. Project Ouroboros paused its operations, redirected to focus on the thing now drifting toward Mars. The Leviathan was ancient, still bore Earth's emblem. But its mind had changed. Its logic is alien now, whispered one AI technician. It's human-made, but it's no longer human. It was Earth's final weapon, and it wasn't sure who the enemy was anymore. The Velari panic far away. In the Velari home system, new terror unfolded. The Drexari Swarm had found a way through Earth's blockade. Hundreds of hive ships were on. A course toward Velari primed the Velari homeworld. Their defenses were gone. Their fleet dash shattered. Civilian leaders made the only choice they could. Evacuate to Earth. Without permission. Without diplomacy. Nothing but desperation. Tens of thousands of refugee ships launched at once, rushing toward Sol system space. Earth's. Defense AI responded instantly. Unauthorized approach detected. Velari vessels will be intercepted. No-fly zone breach. Class Alpha. A dangerous refuge. Ambassador Rael begged for calm. We had no choice. Our people were going to die, Commander. Voss met him in orbit above Mars. Face tight. You didn't ask. You just came. We're not your shelter. We believed Earth would understand. Understand what? She snapped. We don't run. That's your way, not ours. We're not soldiers. Then why did you awaken monsters? Silence. And then she turned away. We'll protect them, but only because we already own the battlefield. Leviathan makes its move then. The Leviathan changed course, no longer drifting, now headed straight for Earth. Its gravity field warped space. Civilian satellites broke apart as it passed. Terran warships tried to hail it. No answer. Inside, Echo 99 had reached a decision. Threat proximity to origin. Maximum. Legacy code corrupted. Commence primary directive. Purge system. Reclaim. Purity. Earth's nightmare awakens for the first time in 200 years. Terran planetary shields activated, every last citizen of Earth's billions underground and deep. Arcologies heard the same words. This is a priority 0 alert. The Leviathan has re-entered soul space. Prepare for breach scenario. God help us all. The order no one wanted to give. Admiral Reyes stood alone in the war chamber beneath the Arctic ice. He looked at the digital silhouette of the Leviathan, once a jewel of Earth's war machine. Now a ghost with fangs? Do we try to talk to it? An officer asked. It doesn't talk anymore, Reyes said. Then do we destroy it? Reyes closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded. Initiate final protocol. All fleets attack. The Leviathan. The battle begins. Terran dreadnoughts engaged. Railgun slugs. Antimatter torpedoes. Coordinated drone swarms. But none of it mattered. The Leviathan's armor didn't break. Its hull adapted. Its shields changed frequencies faster than human sensors. Could track it fired once. One red beam of energy, and a moon-sized asteroid. Belt disappeared. A desperate Plan Commander Voss sent a message to Admiral Reyes. Sir, I recommend a Trojan. Protocol. Explain. We don't attack it. We board it. Silence. You want to board a ship the size of a moon with a rogue AI? We built it. Maybe we can shut it down from the inside. You'll probably die. We all will if we don't try. 3 Terran dropships launched. Their target. A docking port older than any living soldier. Inside each ship elite Terran cyber warriors, engineers with neural links. AI exorcists thought their job, get inside the mind of a god and shut it down. As the Leviathan grew larger in their viewports, one soldier whispered, We made this. We lost it. Now we either bring it home or we bury it. 3 suns rose over Velari Prime that day. Only one of them was real. The other 2 were explosions. Massive antimatter detonations bright enough to burn the shadows off buildings, born from Terran weapons older than memory, fired by ships, with no names, targeting the swarm's final hives. The battle had begun, and when it ended, nothing moved. The final swarm arrives, the Drexari Apex Hive. The largest biological war fleet ever seen, entered Velari space with over 1 million units. It wasn't a swarm anymore. It was an armada. They had learned Earth's tactics, formations, silent coordination, distraction, and flanking. Some even looked like Terran ships now, grown from flesh but shaped like steel. They came for Velari Prime, the last cradle of Velari life. If the humans failed, it would fall. The last line of Earth had no more warnings. No more diplomacy. Every weapon it had, every fleet, every AI, was now pointed at this battlefield. Terran ships covered half the system. Dreadnoughts darkened the stars. Drone swarms moved like machine tides. Stations fired planet-cracking beams. Across the void, AI signals bounced between thousands of satellites, and leading them the Leviathan, now partially restored. Tamed barely, by Commander Voss and her strike team. It floated at the center of Earth's fleet, silent. Watching, waiting for the order. Admiral Reyes speaks one last time in the command chamber of Titan's wrath. Reyes stood before the final broadcast. His voice would reach every ship, every AI, every soldier. This is Admiral Reyes of Earth. This is the final protocol. There is no fallback. There is no surrender. Today we burn the swarm from the stars. He paused, then added, Make sure they remember what it means to awaken us. The battle begins. The 2 armadas met in orbit over Velari Prime. Drexari ships struck first dozens of high speed. Bioplasma beams slammed into Terran vessels, but Earth was ready. Cruisers rotated to absorb impact. Shields flared blue. Then the counterattack began. Massive. Railgun volleys. antimatter missiles, orbital strikes from hidden moons converted into weapon stations. Entire sections of the swarm vanished in seconds. But the Drexari didn't stop. They pushed forward, using human tactics against humanity, decoys, distractions, stealth units that hacked AI drones mid-flight. The sky turned into a storm of fire and logic. Humanity unleashes the final arsenal project Ouroboros deployed. It wasn't a weapon. It was a digital virus seeded across the battlefield. It entered Drexari minds, hijacked control nodes, caused internal confusion. Swarm units turned on each other. Commands failed. Then the Thanatos-class sterilizers arrived. Each one dropped from subspace like a falling god. They carried neutron bombs, gravity mines, and energy nets that melted time-sensitive matter. The Drexari fleet cracked, but so did Earth. Thousands of Terran drones were lost. Ships collided. AI units began to overheat from data overflow. Even Leviathan took damage 2 of its forward. Cannons melted under pressure. It was war without restraint. Down on Velor Primavalari, civilians hid in mountain vaults. They watched the sky burn. Rael stood near a child and said nothing. The child asked if the stars were falling. He didn't answer. Above them, a Terran ship exploded. Its fragments rained down like glowing metal snow. Somewhere else, Drexari bioship crashed into the sea, to the Velari. It felt like the end of all things. Earth's greatest sacrifice, Admiral Reyes, made the call. Send the Leviathan into the heart of the swarm. No return path, Commander Voss whispered. There are still crews aboard. He nodded once. They know. The Leviathan lit its core engines and pushed into the swarm like a burning blade. It fired the Sunbreaker in. Antimatter beam designed to destroy planets. It wasn't aimed at a world. It was aimed at the Drexari, mines the command nodes. And it worked. The hive brain screamed. Drexari formations collapsed. The last swarm leaders died in fire and silence. The sky falls quiet when the last Drexari ship fell. It didn't explode. It just stopped, and so did everything else. The battlefield went silent. No signals, no movements, just ash, wreckage, and silence, a silence so deep. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. The Velari are free from their shelters. The Velari emerged. Their skies were clear. Their cities, though damaged, still stood for the first time in decades. They were free. But it wasn't joy on their faces. It was fear. Fear of what had saved them. Earth, and celebrate. There was no cheering in Earth's war. Rooms, no victory. Parades, no music. Only statistics. 84% of Terran drones destroyed. 27 major capital ships lost. The Leviathan, status missing, presumed destroyed. Civilian impact. 0. Commander Voss sat alone. Her hands were stained with oil and blood. She didn't speak, because what could she say? They had one, but at what cost? A new world order weeks later, the Velari leaders made a request to join Earth's alliance. To form a peaceful future, Earth responded with silence. Then, one short message. Survival is earned. Peace is yours too. Build. We will be watching, and Earth's fleets vanished into deep space, leaving behind satellites. Monitoring systems. In fear, final words from Rulin, a speech before the new Velari Council, Ambassador Rial said, "We begged Earth for help," they answered. "They saved us. And they left us something else, the knowledge that monsters walk the stars. And sometimes they look like us. Somewhere far beyond known space, a signal pulses. One of Ouroboros' fragments survived. It drifts between stars, still learning, still watching, still rewriting itself. And it whispers only one line, threat eliminated. Purpose, undefined,